seems to me like it's like a live album without an audience, which is kind of ironic these days, but it sounds like almost you set up in a circle and played it live, and that's what I love about it.
But pretty much most of it we did play live. There was like 4 or 5 songs that we'd started after we finished on Sunset, which was the album last summer. So there was 4 or 5 songs left, not left over from that record, but we started after that session. So we finished them off, and then when the restrictions were lifted in the last summer, then we all got together and we cut the rest of the tunes live. Yeah, but most of them were done live. There's a few that we did remotely during the first lockdown. But generally speaking, you're right. It's very much a live record.
Yeah, you can tell. I mean, where it exists, you can really tell, and that's what I really love about it. There's so many strong songs on it as well, Paul. I always think this must be a strange moment for an artist who's just released a record to hear someone say the song titles back to them and expect some great in-depth thing. But I love, for example, True was the first one that really jumped out at me. And then I'm going through the record, Glad Times does its thing. Then I think I'm settling at the moment, I think, on Pleasure. It almost kind of has that Bobby Womack Cross 110th Street sort of drama going on.
But that's a big tune for me. I really like the words on that. Cosmic Fringes, I think I really love. It's so
Yeah,
different. You know? I like all of them, John. I've got to be
I know.
honest.
Me too. It is hard to kind of pick one. What I find really interesting as well, though, it's like sort of obviously these songs mightn't have been written had everything not happened. I mean, presumably you'd have been touring on Sunset, wouldn't you?
Uh-huh. Yeah, we'd have been out for like a good year and a half or whatever, you know. So yeah, I wasn't thinking of making a record whatsoever. I was looking forward to going out on the road and promoting and playing on Sunset, the record from last year, you know.
Yeah.
So I wasn't thinking about a record at all. But once the lockdown started last March, I had looking at a prospect of no work for a year or longer. No one knew at that time. So I just thought, well, I'm going to make a record then. You know, I'll consciously, purposely make this album, and that would become my focus for last year, really. And it's probably just having all that free time. Never had so much free time, you know.
It may have got you through a very difficult time. I mean, it's a difficult time for everybody, but it was lovely to have that to retreat into. You know, it's and what I'm picking up on the title track is the way kind of music saves you a bit. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's well, certainly for myself anyway. Music's been everything for me, really. Informative and counselling, all sorts of emotions really have run through music.
Yeah.
So I was trying to capture on that particular track, on the title track on Fat Pop. That's what I'm kind of sort of trying to get to, I suppose, really. But I often find comfort, solace. I don't know, whatever. I'm not sure what, you know, many feelings. But I often find that in music anyway, and it's kind of been a very consistent friend to me over the years.
Of
Someone
course.
to almost confide in or help you focus and help you see what's happening, and real mixture of emotions. I think really, I think we don't always value music as much as that. You know, it's kind of still. I mean, obviously there is that entertainment side to it as well. You know, and people get all sorts of things from music. They take away different things, but I think it's a far greater spiritual cultural force than what we give it credit for sometimes.
No, good point. I think as well with regard to playing live, I mean, there are many artists that are saying they can't wait to get back out on the road. But I'm thinking I mean, you must be itching to get out there because you've always been such a hardworking touring musician. So that void, I'm sure you're desperate to fill that as soon as possible.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been very weird, man, because I've never had this much time off. You know, I mean, I might have taken a year out in the past from playing live just to make a record or whatever it may have been. But I don't think I've ever had this much time off. You know, and it's very. It made me reappraise it and made me probably appreciate it more as well. You know, that I realise that there's this very visceral, physical thing you do when you go out and play live, and just how important it is to us, and to the band as well. We've really missed that contact.
With regard to other stuff, Paul, if you don't mind indulging me in terms of songs of yours that have meant a lot to me, and if you have a comment on it, great. Sunflower.
Well, it was a big record for me in a way because it was the first. It came off Wildwood off, and so it was my second solo album. That came off my second solo album, yeah. But I thought we'd really got the sound together by that time. I remember my first solo album, which I liked. I really enjoyed making that, and it was kind of, I was made in absolute freedom. I wasn't signed to anyone at the time. I didn't have any deal or any record label or whatever. So I was just pure indulgence, really, just doing it for myself and ourselves, whoever was making it. And then I think by Wildwood, which is what Sunflower comes off,
Yeah.
I'd been playing an awful lot by that time. I'd had a good sort of couple of years on the road, and I think it showed in that record because you could hear the sound of the band getting confident, me getting confident. I think Sunflower was a big record from that time. Not talking about how successful it was, but it was a big record for me and for the band at the time because I
Yeah.
felt really we'd caught some sort of sound anyway. We'd kind of got this sound together. I thought,
White Sky, that to me is an underrated track.
yeah, I like that tune too. Yeah, that was something that I did with the guys from the Amorphous Androgynous, I think. Anyway, it was something I did with them. I did a few tracks with them around that time, and nothing came of it. Anyway, it was just stayed in the vaults for some time. And then Stan Kybert, who's co-produced many records with me, he heard it and he kind of reworked it and just yeah, made it into a track. A very loose, jammed sort of thing at the time, you know. And he made it into this track, and then we heard it and was just like, wow, you know, I'd completely forgotten about it. This was probably a good sort of 2 years later after I'd recorded it. But yeah, I think Stan he just turned it around and made it into a song.
Yes, it's a beauty. It really is. And quick, I mean, I'll have to throw a jam song in, but I don't expect you to elaborate much on this. That's Entertainment for me has been one of those incredible lyrics over the decades. I remember hearing a rumor that you kind of wrote it in about 5 minutes one night. Is that true?
10 minutes.
Right. Just all
Um,
flew out.
it just flew out, but it was in some ways it was quite an easy song to write because it's like a list song. It was one of them list songs, right? And once you get into that little space and that, they're kind of fairly easy to write. But really, I was just sort of, I was just looking around my flat where I lived at the time. I lived in a little flat in Pimlico, which is in southwest London. And I was just kind of looking around the flat and just around where I lived, and it was kind of easy to write. You know, there was just all these images. Uh, so I wrote it really quickly. I come back from a pub really drunk, and I wrote it really quickly. And then I kept it real simple. There's only like 4 chords in that song, and it was
Yeah.
just cyclical thing that goes round and round and round, a bit like a folk song, I suppose. But the fact it connects with so many people, that's interesting because it wasn't. I didn't think have any feelings about it one way or the other at the time when I wrote it because it came out so quickly. I wasn't sure what it was or not, and then it sort of took on a life of its own since that time. You know, just
Fantastic.
become so popular with people. Yeah.
I'm going to go for From the Floorboards Up. I think that's one of the best as well in fairly recent times, you know?
Yeah, from the floorboards up. When I wrote that, that is entirely about playing live. That was my feelings. And me and Steve White, who was playing with me at the time, we would always say on a good night, we could feel this vibration from the floorboards, right, from the
Yeah.
stage, and we could feel this energy rising, and it rises ground up, and we could feel it. Sometimes, like we feel like we took off. Not every
Brilliant.
night, some nights anyway. So it was kind of really about that, you know. And I remember writing that after a show. Funny enough, in Glasgow, we just finished a gig, and I went back to my room, and I just started writing it. And then the next day, we were in a dressing room and we rehearsed it. I just taught the band it, and we kind of rehearsed it up. And then I think we played it, maybe not that night, but the night after, before it was even recorded, you know. So it was kind of a song about playing live and a very, very live song as well. We cut it all live as well.
If I was to choose a Style Council track, there are so many, but one of my favorite happy songs is My Ever Changing Moods. And I love the way you mix it up when you play it live. It's always slightly different every time.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, another big tune for us, another popular song. Can't remember too much about writing it. It's a long time ago, but there was like sort of three or four different versions, I think, floating about at one time. I did it once time with piano, and I did another time with violin. So there was a few different versions, and then I can't remember much about it.
Yeah, it's just I just listening to it's enough. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
it's a good
final
tune.
one. I wonder will this one surprise you because it's not an album people refer to a lot. Aim High from Wake Up the Nation.
Yeah, nice. Thank you. Yeah, I like that song. Yeah,
Mm.
that's just like a yeah, well, just a soul tune, isn't it? I think those moments are more spontaneous, really. I don't know if they're always so planned sometimes, but often they're just things I just think of at the time. We'll be recording whatever part of the song, and then I can hear something else. I might hear sax in there, or we could try this, and whatever it may be. But often I think a lot of recording, a lot of ideas are just spontaneous things, and then you try them and they work, and some don't work, and some you come back to. Let's just keep trying and see what works.